This week on Women Who Rise, I'm joined by one of the most dynamic and driven women I have ever met, Krista Mashore. From selling over 2,300 homes to building a multi-million-dollar coaching business, Krista is proof that confidence is built, not born, and that speed beats perfection every time. We talk about the habits that drive success, building belief when the odds are against you, and why the way you show up every day determines where you end up. The new episode with Krista Mashore drops this Tuesday. Don't miss it. Hey there, and welcome to Women Who Rise, the success podcast for ambitious women. I'm your host, Heather Mansy. My guest today is Krista Mashore, a top 1% real estate agent who has sold over 2,300 homes and built a multi-million-dollar coaching business. She's an Inc. 5000 entrepreneur, known for teaching business owners how to master visibility, take fast action, and build confidence through consistent habits. In this conversation, Krista shares her journey, the strategies that drive her success, and how you can apply them to rise in your own business and life. So stay tuned. Krista, thank you so much for being here and welcome to the show.
Oh, thanks for having me, Heather. I'm excited to be here. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. So as you know, you are certainly one of the most inspiring women that I have had the pleasure to meet and to begin to know. I've also been able to utilize your coaching program, which has been instrumental in a number of ways. As a lifelong educator, I know you pride yourself on being able to communicate effectively. And as a student yourself, you have invested tremendously in your own education, and you continue to do so with multiple coaches. Can you just talk a little bit about the value of coaching and maybe what it has profoundly changed for you in your career?
Oh, I will say that I believe as long as you're an action taker and you actually implement what you're taught from a coach, when you have a coach, you just collapse time frames because you're learning from the experience of someone else. So you're taking what they do well and you're implementing. You're taking what you're not doing what they learned didn't work, right? And it has been the most instrumental thing in my growth and development. And I think the biggest reason why most people fail is because they don't have the coaching and the accountability and the support. And so it's like they just don't know what the heck they're doing, right? Like people will say to me, what's the quickest way to get from 100,000 to 250,000 or from 250,000 to $1 million? What's the biggest mistake that you see people making? And what I say is people just don't know what they're doing, right? They don't know what they're doing right or what they're doing wrong because they just have no idea. And so it's really hard to scale that way, let alone, create the business and life of your dreams when you just don't know. So I think I'm close to almost $1.7 million at this point that I've invested just in the past 7.5 years
Wow.
of my own coaching. And, but I'll give you an example. So when I was in real estate, it took me 14 years to hit $1 million mark. And then I hired a coach and he got me to $1 million in 11 months. And then I scaled like multiple $1 million months, very quickly after that from investing in even higher level programs of his. And that's because he had already done the thing I was trying to do. And he already had the playbook, And so I'm a huge fan of it. Not only am I a coach, but I'm an implementer of it, right? I always eat my own dog food and I practice what I preach.
I love that. Yeah. And honestly, I have very much seen that. You had mentioned, I think one of the times we first met, you said, Heather, I have 4 coaches right now or 7 coaches right now. You have also specialized.
It was when I had 4.
Okay.
Right now I have 3, and it's a
Gotcha.
lot, but it can be overwhelming. I mean, but the reason why when I met you, I had so many, which was 4, the most I've ever had at one time, was because the market has shifted so greatly, and my avatar was at the time was just real estate agents. Now I coach local professionals and entrepreneurs and as well, but I knew I had to double, triple down because they were in such dire straits. I couldn't keep doing what I was doing and expect to have the same type of years that I was having. So I had to do other avenues and optimize other areas of my business, and and really that was the reason.
Which makes sense. I mean, you were basically inventing, and I think one of the things you're alluding to is basically June of 22 to June of 24. And now, in fact, the year of 2023 has kind of gone down in history as one of the single hardest years in terms of total units of production available in the U.S. to the number of real estate agents in 30 years. It's one of the hardest years in 30 years. So you were basically redesigning on the fly and kind of targeting people in a different way. That leads me to another question that I had for you as well. I when I speak about you, I often say, Krista, my coach, will speak in bumper sticker statements. And I love to say this, but it's not to talk it down. It's basically to say the way you communicate is so incredibly accessible. And I know that as an educator, you really want to be able to communicate to who you're teaching. You have statements such as "do it now," which is literally written on my whiteboard right now, and it's you've got a wonderful neon sign of it. I'm getting that next, and then analysis paralysis. Which speaks to the concept of making sure that, we are moving forward and that you're never going to have perfection when you're implementing something new. But those things have made a really big impact on me. I've actually said that you've given me permission to fail, to embrace my sometimes impatient, imperfect nature. And just embrace moving forward quickly. How are you implementing some of, maybe one of your favorite statements today, or what do you really wrap your arms around these days?
Well, I mean, Getmo is one of our good enough to move on, right? Done is better than perfect. Progress, not perfection. I mean, I cannot tell you I think one of the most successful traits that I have witnessed that the people, because I'm in some rooms where I'm like, I like being the most the brokest person in the room. I want to surround myself with people that are doing better things than me, and they are massive action takers, right? They are taking such massive action, and most of the time it's effective action because they also are investing in the best of the best for whatever skill set they're trying to develop, right? So they do make less mistakes, but like, I mean, so many people think themselves right out of doing anything, but from taking quick action is such a massive part of success, because while you figure out as you go, if you're always waiting for everything to be right and to be perfect, you don't know what you're doing wrong because you haven't launched. And no matter how great and perfect you think it is, you're doing so many things incorrectly without even knowing it. And you don't have the opportunity to realize that unless you're a quick launcher, right? So you've got to launch and adjust, implement and adjust, implement and adjust. And what I have found is that I might make 10 moves and 7 or 8 of them will be wrong, but 2 of them will be right, at least a little bit right. And I can keep making them better. Whereas the average person they're still planning their first move, so it's like you're always 2 moves and then 4 moves ahead because you're willing to just fail.
I love that. It's absolutely true. If you can simply go forward faster, I think the wisdom is in action. I've met authors that it took them 10 years to write their first book. It took them 5 to write their second. After that, they were doing one every 1 to 2 years. And it's not because they became that much better of an author. Number one, it was because they actually gained more confidence in the process. Yes. But also mainly because they stopped overanalyzing every little thought and realizing that, it was never really going to be perfect anyway. And that they needed to kind of take a recipe and go forward. And in fact, they found that their future books were more experimental maybe than what they had even started with, and yet was somehow more successful. There is something I wanted to ask you in way of your use of color. I find fascinating and so instructive. You use color as a way to communicate in your business. I know you have dove deep into color theory and things like that. From the way you present yourself, even, today on camera, to the way that you've designed your training programs, your program materials, and even the type of posts that you share. Can you talk about how you use maybe color intentionally to communicate inside of your brand and what maybe would be a good takeaway for other people that, again, business entrepreneurs or realtors that are on this program looking to create a brand?
Well, here's an example. I like color, as you can see, right? But I wouldn't say. I think that's more just my personality. I'm bold. I have high energy. I, I'm an action taker. I'm very quick. And I think that the colors that I use, I just use them to attract attention, but also to kind of show my personality, if that makes sense. Like I'm not necessarily a black and white type of person. So I haven't really put much, even though there is a whole science behind colors and colors you should use and shouldn't use. And when I first got into business, that was important, way more important than I thought. I put way more into that then than it really matters, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What I think as far as building a brand is that you need to think about your brand, not even about the colors or the fonts but about like how people perceive you and the values that you exhibit and what you show people, not just tell people. All of that is a huge part of your brand, right? And I think that as you know, like video is huge, a part of building a brand. It's part of what I teach and making sure you actually get exposure. And so, I wouldn't necessarily say, and there's some people that are just, a little bit more, I would say conservative. And so they might want to utilize more conservative type of colors, but I wouldn't put so much focus on the colors as I do, you know, who you are showing up as, because your actions speak so much more louder than your colors or your words. It's how do you show up? What can people see about you based upon what you're doing? Like, for example, you've said, I've never heard anybody say what you said about me as far as the bumper sticker, or what was it? What'd you say?
Yeah, you speak in bumper sticker statements. Yes.
Wait, I've never heard that. That's kind of a cool thing, like bumper sticker statements, which being a teacher at heart and having a master's degree in curriculum and instruction, is that I will tell you is that I keep it simple for people, and I don't need to sound very intelligent, use really strong words. I want to be able to get my point across in a manner that a third grader can understand and remember. And the fact that, like just you saying that, I was like, oh, it's working, right? Even when I
Definitely.
do my content, do my videos, emails, any part of my marketing, I want to make it tangible and understandable. And I think that's partly from my teaching background, being a teacher for 6 years. And I think it's just really important that way. But I wouldn't overthink the brand colors. I really want people to think about, like, am I consistent? Am I showing up where people are looking? Do people know what I do? When they think about my profession, do they think about me and know me based upon my content, right? Do they know me outside of just my industry? Do they know who I am, what I stand for, what I believe in? All of those things. I mean, I take it very serious that people understand, like, my marriage is one of the most important things to me, my husband
Mhm.
over anything else. The loyalty that we have and the commitment that we've made is more important to me than my business. And like literally living my life with integrity and doing the right thing. Like, I don't want to be right. I want to be the best in everything that I can do, including with my team members and I hate calling them my employees because I call them my team members, but
Yeah.
just with anything. But I just think, your brand is like who you represent, how you make people feel, what they think and believe about you. And you do that. Part of your brand is by being super consistent, right? And showing up constantly. And I think that's another reason why you want to take action quickly and you want to be a fast mover, because, it's a busy world out there and it's hard getting that attention. So you got to do it, a lot of it.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And one thing that you just said that I actually just got a great takeaway from is the concept that best is not just being the best that you can do, but also best as in alignment with integrity. The
Mm.
fact that being a person of integrity, being someone who is whole and complete and does what you say and all of that also equals this concept for you of being best, the best that you can possibly be, which I understand would make a lot of sense given that you are a coach. You are helping inform people how to make their own businesses work better, thrive, and how to be successful as entrepreneurs in whatever they're up to, be it real estate or otherwise. I wanted to talk briefly about having a clear vision and choosing an audience. Basically, you have spoken before on having a clear vision and having a clear idea of how you want to move things forward in your business and how powerful that can be. Can you talk just about sort of choosing an audience and truly becoming a master of the customer group you are seeking? And I am thinking a little bit in terms of like having a blue ocean or having a niche or that entire concept. What are your thoughts on that nowadays?
So first, what I want to do is let me back up before you have a vision. I think you need to understand why you're doing something. If I can kind of hit on that, because I think it's really important. And I think that a lot of times we're told this. Anytime I've ever hired a coach, they ask me why. What's your why, right? And so we kind of don't really take it as serious and as meaningful as it should be. And my background, but I'm sure most of your listeners don't. But I have not lived at home since I was 13 years old. My mother, whom I am a best friends with now and I love so dearly, and she's been so instrumental in my development, but she was physically abusive when I was growing up. So, and pretty severe actually. So much so that I started running away from the court from home and ended up in juvenile hall. And then from juvenile hall, I got sent to a group home for troubled girls. And then I got sent back home, and then the abuse had stopped, but like the psychological aspect of it hadn't. And so I actually got taken away from my parents. The courts took me away from my family, and it was very devastating because it was like I lived in two different homes. I had this amazing mother, but also she would become physically abusive. It was almost like she was two different people. And then I had a very 100% all the time the best dad in the whole world and two happy brothers, and we went on vacations and we went camping and we did fun things. And then there was this like hidden aspect that no one knew about that was happening. And so I got sent to a foster home. So I have not lived at home since I was 13. And in fact, I just learned this past weekend, my mom came over. I got triggered from her the night before, and she is so loving, like as far as even still my healing. You think at almost 54 years old, I'd be over it. But I mean, it's still painful. Like the thought that I left my home and I still have wounds from it, right? So she came over and she was just like, like, do I need to go back to counseling with you? And I'm like, no, mom, I just had a moment, but anyway, I just learned, I didn't know that they had fought. Like they hired lawyers and attorneys to have me stay home. And they didn't let me, they wouldn't let me or allow me to. And so much so that after I got out of the group home and the foster home, the court sent my parents this huge bill, and my parents fought it and didn't have to pay for it because they tried so hard to keep me, but because of everything that had happened, no one knew the severity of everything. But anyway, so I say that because when I got into my first career as a real estate agent, well, I had recently become divorced. My husband at the time had an affair, and he had drained our bank accounts, and we had just bought in a brand new house. And so my goal was, I had two little girls, like around 4.5 and 2-ish. And my goal was to keep my daughters in that house. It was like, no matter what happened, we had just bought a new home. I had no money. I was like, oh my gosh, I just left my full-time safe teaching job as a teacher of 6 years to get into real estate because my daughter was sick and I wanted to take care of her. So I thought I'll play real estate and I'll be a stay-at-home mom, right? Well, that turned into diving into real estate, selling 69 homes my first year, and being like, and that all happened because of my why. Like my why was, I was displaced at 13. It mentally and it tore me apart. A lot of, and because of what I had gone through, my goal was to keep my daughters in that home as safe as can be, and like butterflies and rainbows and unicorn type of backyard kind of story. That was my goal. And because of that, I was able to sell 69 homes and average 133 homes the 17 years I was a practicing agent. So I want to say that is the most important thing. You have to really understand why you're doing something, because things are always hard. They always are harder than you think. They take more time than you think, more energy, more money. Everything is harder, especially now, I believe, right? We're in just a different age. You have to work so much harder. And if you don't know why, then you will freeze, and you won't progress. You'll procrastinate, right? Because that's what we do. That's how our brain was built. It's built when things get hard to stop and to stay back and comfortable. So you have to really know why you're doing something. And I had a very clear reason why was keep them safe, and I did just that. And then as far as niching, I think that the riches are in the niches, right? Like you got to think about. It really is true. Like research shows that there's some marketing principles, and it's relevancy, recency, proximity. And what that means is the more relevant something is to someone, the more recent it is, and the closer in proximity it is to them and where they're at, right? The more that it will speak to them, the more likely they will convert and be attracted to somebody. So let's just take, who is your audience mostly, Heather?
Yeah, I would say we're looking at, female professionals or people who desire to be professionals. We do have a lot of people in the real estate world. And then also we're looking at people across different industries as well. But it's kind of all in the title, women who want to rise.
I love
And
it.
it's the podcast for ambitious women.
Okay, and just I have a balance board, everybody. So if you see me going up and down and kind of moving a little bit, it's because I'm on a balance board. I'd like to use things like this to be able to get my core good.
I love that.
Yeah. So okay, so let's just use real estate as an example. Okay.
Hmm.
So let's just take. I have an idea, Heather. Let's take menopausal women, because I don't know about you, but I'm going through menopause. Okay, so I'm gonna
Oh,
use that example.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm going through as a soon to be 54-year-old woman, that's having hot flashes, trouble sleeping, weight gain, like loss of hair. I mean, hormones, all the things you never thought would ever happen to us. Of course, we never thought it would really happen to us, right, Heather? It's like I didn't believe it
Oh,
would.
yeah.
Yeah.
We're in denial. Yeah.
No, we're in denial. Now I'm going through it like crazy. That is a very different message than somebody who just graduated from high school, who is just getting married, or
Hmm.
who is going through a divorce or just having babies. I mean, there's so many different there's so many different phases of life. And so my marketing message, if I was, working for women, is going to be so different if I'm going after a postmenopausal or a premenopausal than somebody that is going, just getting married or just having babies, or do you see what I'm
Hmm.
saying? So it's the more relevant, recent, close in proximity. Can you try again? That your content is, the more it speaks to someone, the more you will convert. And that is true with anything, right? And I think,
Hmm.
like, if you take real estate, for example, a lot of times people think, oh my gosh, if I niche, I'm going to miss out on all the other people. When the truth is, it's not true at all. You will still get the same referrals. You'll still attract people. But when you can find a niche and speak directly to that type of client and their fears and their desires and their wants and their needs, and you speak to it like you are the true expert, they are going to be attracted to you no matter what. And you're going to like attract your tribe. It's so important, right? Especially in a crowded market like real estate, like all these different professions that are super crowded. Even more important that you specialize, show your unique value add, and speak directly to your client avatar. And you'll still get all the rest of them too.
Yeah, I think that's phenomenal. And what you just said really just burst the bubble about all that. This idea that, man, if I don't niche down, I'm going to lose out. I think it's like anything, you're losing out because you're not directing your energy to one specific group. I wanted to talk to you a little about, and by the way, I really want to thank you for sharing your story. I knew your background, although your recent revelation is incredible. Even now, to be learning more about this, and I've understood some of your journey, and it's another reason that I just think you are honestly one of the most inspiring women. And I wanted to ask you a little bit, as a business owner, you are absolutely inspiring and you come across as someone who's deeply empowered. But I know this is not by accident. There's a lot of unseen hours, hard work, and coaching behind that. But it's also not something that we're born with. So can you share a little bit the journey? We know kind of your history and your why. How did you become the woman that, is opposite me today on the podcast? You are an incredible public speaker. You do so much. What allows you to kind of ignite that, fearlessness, I guess I'll call it, and confidence on a daily basis over these, decades?
I think the first part of my development, I think, was honestly, I was so insecure from the physical abuse. Like I suffered feeling worthy. And like when you have, physical abuse from a parent, you really struggle with feeling valued and loved. And so I was trying to prove to myself, like by accomplishing things and meeting, being the best at things and meeting like, top 1% or whatever you want to call it. I think for a long time, honestly, Heather, I did it to prove to myself that I was good enough. And even sometimes, and I'll give a strategy that I've been using forever because I have had a ton of personal development, counseling, hiring specialists and coaches, like in every aspect of life you can imagine from everything, but at first it was that. At first the success was proving to myself that I was good enough. And then the second part of my success was doing it for my daughters, making sure that they were secure. And finally, as I've gotten older in life, but it's still like this tug of war sometimes. Like I still sometimes, and that's why I have this strategy called the stop, snap, and switch, and I'll get into it in a minute. But
Yeah.
it's like, I believe sometimes, oh my God, I'm this woman that, 7.5 years ago, I left the top 1% real estate to become a coach, and I've generated $67 million online. And and that seems amazing, but over the past just 2 years with the way the market is, my business has declined about 70% from what it was 3 years ago when the market was better, right? Me coaching real estate agents because and a lot of pain and stress and mistakes and loss of money and thinking, gosh, did I do the right thing? Like sometimes I think I made more money as a real estate agent and I didn't have 40 employees, it's like, what have I done? But the point is now I'm at a point where I believe it 90% of the time. 90% of the time, I know I'm this bad, awesome woman that can do anything and has achieved like literally top 1% things multiple times in different various areas. And then there's that other half that's like, oh my gosh, are you good enough? Or why should I be doing this? And why should people listen to you? And who are you to think you should be doing this? And I have to remind myself. And so I constantly am working on my attitude. I read every self-help book you can imagine. I listen to positive affirmations. I do what I teach. And one strategy that I have come up with, my favorite book ever, I'll show it, is actually.
I was just about to ask you, what is your favorite book? Because I think we're all, okay, I love that because I read it. Yep.
Yeah, written is Stop, Snap, and Switch. Train your brain to unleash your limitless life. Now, when I came up with that title, Unleash Your Limitless Life, they didn't even have ChatGPT. So that was just my own title. Now it sounds so ChatGPT, but this entire book is like my passion project where like I want it to get in every single person's hand because it really has changed my life. And I've had so many people that have actually read it tell me like that's the best mindset book I've ever I've ever read because it puts all the things that I've learned from everyone. Like there's all these principles aren't they're universal. Not one person came up with them, but it puts an action, like a physical action aligned with it to like stop yourself in your tracks to empower yourself to change your mindset. And there's no other word, Heather, to say than mindset, because when I wrote the book, I tried so hard not to use mindset because I feel like it's overplayed and people talk about it so much. So people underestimate it, but there's no other word. It's like what you think, how you talk affects so many things. So stop, step, and switch is a strategy where number one, we have anywhere research says between like 40,000 and 70,000 thoughts every single day. And most of those thoughts are negative and they're repeated negative thoughts. And so the stop, step, and switch method, it helps you recognize your negative thoughts as they're happening. Like it's these limiting beliefs or things that we say to ourselves. And it's how we talk to ourselves, what we're thinking about ourselves. Like, oh my gosh, I'm exhausted. I'm too old to do this. I'm not good with technology. Why should anyone listen to me? It's that negative wolf that we have inside of ourselves that's constantly putting ourselves down, questioning ourselves, battling ourselves, getting in our own way. And once you stop and recognize that, it's like, oh my gosh, I just got done. I'll give you an example. I have been up since 12:30 midnight last night. Okay.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I woke up this morning and I didn't wake up. I didn't go to sleep really. I slept for 4 hours, went to bed at 8:30. And I was like, I'm tired, but I was like, I can't say that to myself. I can't say I'm so tired. So did I even say one time today I'm tired? Not once. Yeah. I was like, I am not going to say I'm tired because I have to talk myself out of it. I have a ton to do, right? It was a full flown day. And I know that if I tell myself that I'm tired, or I tell myself that I'm bad with technology, or I tell myself that's how I'm going to show up. So I have to recognize what I'm saying to myself, because there are not to get all technical with you, but the thing I love about this book is all research studies, all scientific proof of our brains and neuroplasticity and how we can literally program and train our brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I put it in a really fun, easy way. But, you know, we have the power. Like, this is really universal principles and science, that we have the power to create or destroy any aspect of our life. And most of us destroy it because of how we talk to ourselves and how we think about things. And so when you can stop the negative thought, snap the bracelet, because then it puts a physical along with the mental, right? And then you switch the bracelet to the other hand. So it's an action, a thought, a physical something, right? And then you just restate the thought. It's like, hey, I've got plenty of energy. 4 hours was enough sleep for me. I got plenty to do today, and I am going to be on fire today. I mean, you would not know that I had 4 hours of sleep last night, and it's 3:12
No.
now p.m., right?
Yeah.
And I've been just going all day long, but it's because I am training myself to be that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that is the strategy, the stop, snap, and switch strategy, and the snaps strategy that I am just so in love with. And it's like, it can work for children. It can work for any aspect of your life, whether it's the way you feel about yourself, your marriage. You know, I mean, you get what you focus on. So if you're focusing on my life sucks and business is hard and it's the market and it's my husband's an a-hole, you're going to get more crap. So when you can utilize this personal empowerment tool to train yourself to think differently, your whole life can be different.
I love that. It's and look, I've read the book. I've brought home some of the bracelets to my team. I do some personal coaching to my realtors, in my team, and it's definitely been something that there have been times I've gifted that bracelet. I've talked them through it, and I said, like, here's the best tool you'll probably ever have, and just the concept that goes with it. I literally just talked about mindset with someone a little bit ago. I think what we're learning in this day and age about how we can train our minds and how ultimately hackable they are and how very simply hackable they are, I think is one of the most exciting things that you and I are currently living through. Is
Yeah.
we have the opportunity to understand more than we've ever understood. And you are showing up like a leader despite that fact that, yes, you didn't have sleep last night. And here's the other thing, and I'm glad that you were able to answer in this way, is because I do think there's a concept that once you've made it, somehow you're just set. You're confident, you're fixed, everything's great.
Oh no.
And I
It's just
want people to
constant work.
understand, right, we're always a work in progress. And it does not take a fully 100% confident person to be wildly successful. And in fact, a wildly successful person is not permanently 100% confident. We are always human. We're always going to have to deal with that.
And so in a lot of these masterminds that I'm in, I am so surprised at how many people still struggle with self-worth
Mhm.
and confidence and feeling good enough. It's like half the room that express it in these masterminds. And then there's the other half where I'm sure a quarter of them just don't.
Yeah.
Every single person goes through it,
Mhm.
right? And, oftentimes, sadly enough, the most person that looks the most well put together is the most effed up out of anybody. It's like they're,
Yeah.
and so for me, like, I don't believe you should make your message until you're not going through it, if that makes sense, because I think it can business and your brand and all those things. But I think it's important that we talk about just real and being, vulnerable. My husband always says, I wish sometimes you wouldn't be so honest about things, because, sometimes I'd say two things about the past or whatever, and he's really private, but no, yeah, but it's so important. I mean, there is so much, like people used to think like, oh, this whole positivity thing, it's an illusion. It's not real. It's like unicorns. Well, it's actually not true. There's scientific brain research and discovery. Your brain lights up. And there's actually this really cool part of your brain that called the prefrontal cortex. And the left prefrontal cortex is the part of your brain that actually lights up, and it teaches you, it looks for solutions. It looks to solve problems. It looks to venture out. It looks to give you like ideas of things that you can do. And it grows. The more you use this aspect of your brain, it can grow, right? And then there's the other part of our brain, the amygdala, where it's like it's the opposite. It keeps you safe and it makes you afraid, and it keeps you like comfortable and thinking like, oh, everything's okay. This is just the way it keeps you broke, quite frankly. And
Yeah.
the areas of your brain that you use more. So that is why positive self-talk and learning to reprogram your thoughts and rewire your thinking from this stop, snap, and switch strategy is so important, because not only does it work for the negative, but like I've gotten so good where I use it for the positive. Like I'm constantly like, oh, like complimenting myself as things go well. Like, oh, that was a good job, Krista. Like, like for
Yeah.
example, during this podcast, my brain, I'm like, man, you're doing pretty good right now, especially considering I only had 4 hours of sleep, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, like, and so you get to a point where you do it for the opposite, not in a conceited way, but success breeds success. What gets celebrated gets replicated. So I want to replicate what I'm doing well, because I want to train my brain to look for more of it. And your brain subconsciously is built to get you what you're thinking. So if your thinking is doom and gloom and negative, your brain says, okay, you're right. Let's find you more of that. And it's the opposite. So you can ruin your life by the how you think,
Yeah.
or the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah. Or train it. Yes, I think exactly. I think the best one I can think of is when people imagine they want, a car of some kind. And suddenly that exact car, is driving down the freeway everywhere they go, and they see hundreds of them. Well, the cars were already there. It's just they brought it into their focus. And you can do that with success. Again, there is
reticular activating system. It's
reticular activating system. And I love when you say the amygdala, what it's up to, just trying to keep you safe and trying to keep you real, I sometimes think of that kids movie, The Croods, because my boys were of a certain age. We went and saw it. And I remember, cavemen or something, and they, someone would reach out and say, I brought these berries, and everyone would smack them out of their hand. They would say, it's new, get away. And it just was something that I laugh about it all the time. And I'll say it to my agents, because yes, is exactly this idea that, of course, it probably allowed us to stay alive as cave people, as a species, fear the new berries in the meadow because maybe those are the poisonous ones. But we're not in a meadow surviving off of berries anymore. And so that's not really helping us when we're trying to step out of our comfort zone. And when I think so much of, like you say, success is probably getting a little bit uncomfortable and trying something perhaps new.
You're not taking risks and you're comfortable. I mean, all the good stuff comes when it's hard and uncomfortable and uncertain. I mean, if all the good stuff comes from risk, right? And the most successful people are willing to take the biggest amount of risk. And the good thing is, if you're not that successful, you don't have much to risk, then you should be going for it anyways, right? I mean, it just is true. It's like when you're going after hard things, it's hard. And it's uncomfortable and you make mistakes and it sucks a lot of the time, but that's the only way that you get to the greatness that people want. It's like people want so many things, but they're not willing to do what it takes to get there. John Maxwell, he's a leader, and he does a lot of motivational stuff. And he said this story once, how he was this huge speaking event, and this kid went up to him afterwards and said, I want to be a public speaker like you. And John said, well, are you willing to do all the things that it takes to actually get there? I mean, you got to be willing to do what, honestly, 99% of people aren't willing to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times I like to tell my story, quite frankly, because I think people look at certain people like you. You're a beautiful woman. You're very successful. You look like you have it all put together. So people just assume you have it easy. And I like to tell people, hey, I haven't had anything easy. Like when I was 18, my foster parents kicked me out of the house and I had to go figure it out. Right. I mean, it's like constantly figuring it
Surviving.
out. Nothing's been handed to me. It's just been from working my butt off and being willing to, like, I've made some crazy mistakes every day. I do, like, all the time, and it's going to keep happening because that's what happens with yours. I never want to stop growing. So I'm going to constantly mess up,
That I honestly, Krista, I think that's probably one of the most amazing. It's going to be one of the takeaways from the episode is that, honestly, your humility in being willing to say, like, pull back the curtain and go, I'm never going to stop growing. So I'm never
Oh,
going to stop
never.
making
Mm-mm.
mistakes. Well, I know that our time is coming near, but I want to look at one or two things. What are your current projects and what's next? And also, like, what are you most excited about? I mean, I know you're in coaching rooms that it's $500,000 almost to get in that room. What, I don't want to say give us the secret sauce, but give us the secret sauce. No, what are you most excited about? If there's one platform people should be posting on, if there's one way to be posting on a platform, if there's, just something regarding AI, what are some of your thoughts or even what you're up to?
Yeah. So I absolutely, you need to be focusing on positioning yourself properly in the market, right? I mean, you need to be the number one thing that you should be doing in any business. I don't care what you do, whether you are making cupcakes or you're an insurance agent or a real estate agent, or it's posting content consistently, being seen, making sure you get massive amounts of exposure, and that you are being in front of your ideal avatar, answering their questions, helping them get closer towards their goals, developing that parasocial relationship via video marketing. It is imperative that you do that, and being on as many social platforms as you can, because research shows that most people are on two, and they're different. Knowing which platform your avatar is more likely, I call it your dream client, more likely to be on, and mastering that one first. But with AI, I mean, I have two AI coaches right now. With AI and with like there's the software out there and the video editing. And I mean, you can use a platform like repurpose.io and create
Yeah.
a video, and it can get put on every platform in the right format, and you can do it in a matter of minutes. And you can use, CapCut or Descript to edit your videos by just typing things in, and it removes words and adds graphics and in a matter of minutes, where before it took, hours to do. And you can do it for cents in seconds. Literally, there's no excuse not to do it. So really, really focusing on your brand, positioning in your market, making sure that whatever you do, people know about it, because you're making it impossible for them not to. And, serving, not selling. I call it winning before you arrive, right? Win
Yeah.
before you arrive by your content. It's the number one thing. And then, obviously, you know, expose yourself and be around people that are doing things better than you and more than you, so that you can learn from them.
Mhm.
Uh, you're like, when I say I like to be the first person in the room in the groups that I'm in, I do, because that's how I got to be, where I was at. So really, really, really important. And I'm massively into AI right now. I have been for about a year and a half. I'm on I think my fourth coach now. And also launching this new local like entrepreneurial business, where I focus on teaching entrepreneurs and professionals how to utilize sales funnels, AI, video, and social media to dominate their markets is my passion right now. And of course, I'm writing another mindset book too.
Fantastic. And I will definitely be looking for that. One quick takeaway. How do you deal with, concepts of like negativity online? Obviously people have fear around that kind of a thing when you are growing a platform.
Yeah. So it's going to happen. And it's like, haters are going to be there. Haters are going to hate, right? They're going to judge you whether you do content, or they're going to judge you whether you don't. And you'll just attract the right people and detract the wrong ones. And I just don't care. Like, I'm more of a producer than I'm a consumer. I don't even like to know about it. It's like my team does. I tell them, don't tell me. I don't want to know about it. Right. If I'm worried about what someone else is saying or thinking, I'm taking the focus off of my future. So I just don't care. And I just really don't. Now, that is not to say I've always been that way. I think when I first launched coaching, it was harder in the beginning. It was. I had to learn to just like ignore it, because there's a lot of it, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes the more people hate you, the better you do, because they're talking about you. So the algorithm likes it. So, don't worry about
I've
it.
heard you say this before. It actually can be favorable online. It's almost like they say, don't have all 5-star reviews, have a 4-star review. Google will throw you up there more. What Yeah, other than if you have a business, people can come to you perhaps for coaching. Obviously, realtors, you have your marketing mastery coaching programs, which I can attest are phenomenal. You have lots around that. Where can people find you on socials to maybe tap into that brilliance and learn from you or your books?
Yeah, KristaMashore.com. You can find me everywhere, and all the books are there. My passion book is Stop, Snap, and Switch from Krista Mashore. That's me. And then, yes, we have every month we have an event for entrepreneurs and local professionals where we teach them marketing. And we have one for specific to real estate every month as well. And then so we teach all marketing, video, ads, all that great kind of stuff. But when you find me on socials, you'll learn about it.
Fantastic. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you so much. Krista, you are an absolutely phenomenal woman. I am extremely grateful that you found some time for us today. I know with your hectic schedule, but you are a star who's shining very brightly and who I very much follow and look forward to see what you do next because it is always instructive for me. And you always give with such a heart and such a true passion to help others and to genuinely educate. And I absolutely love that about you. And I appreciate you so much for being here today. It has been very helpful. And thank you.
Heather, thank you so much for having me, and you keep on crushing. I love what you're doing. It's such a good job, and you're so driven. But anyways, if you DM me, everyone on socials, like DM me on Instagram, look me up, and I'll send you a free copy, a free ebook of my Stop, Snap, and Switch book. So just send me a DM on socials, and I can get you guys a free copy, audio or digital, of that. And Heather, thank you. I've had a really good time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Well, folks, that is it for today's podcast. Thank you for joining us on Women Who Rise, the success podcast for ambitious women. Today, Krista taught us with her firecracker personality and incredible energy, you've got to know your why. Now and as it changes, you've got to understand this is your fuel. This is your drive. Understanding who you are, what you want, and why. This is really critical. And these mindsets, mindset focus really matters. Number two, be the brokest person in the room. Basically her phrase for saying, learn from people who have more than what you have. Learn from people that are out ahead of you. Don't just affiliate yourself with people who are either where you're at now or below or before. It's not to say that you can't have friends in all circles. Absolutely. In fact, you may be helping a number of people that you know well. But if you are out to learn what it is you want to get in the thing you want to thrive in, you've got to be willing to go into rooms that make you legitimately uncomfortable, where you are taking notes like a fiend because you don't know if you belong there. That's the right room. Number three, implement at speed. Imperfect progress over perfection. This is another one of Krista's, favorite statements. Absolutely. Just go for it. Throw it out there, do it now. Start the project, do the podcast, do the post, get on socials, whatever you need to do, and then adjust as you go. Perfection is not going to be an option. And in fact, as I was saying, if you're launching anything, you could wait until you have perfection and then launch it and find out it was a terrible idea anyway, or that it was not going to work the way you thought. So just get out there and start working on whatever it is you're working towards. Get out there, get coaching, create imperfect action, do some sort of action today. Like she said, action takers are money makers. Really, there's so much truth to these statements. Fourth, show your values and what you stand for on socials and be consistent. Get on 2+ platforms. Consider using a product like repurpose.io or one of those to help spread your message across platforms, because it's true that they have different editing and things like that, different ways that your video needs to show up. But Don't let that stop you. Krista has previously also said master one platform and then expand out. But basically, you've got to get your media out there. And she absolutely expressed how critical, absolutely crucial, she said that video was. So you got to get out there. You let people see who you are, what you stand for, what are your values. Let them know you, and also let them know what it is you're up to and what it is you sell, what it is you do. Are you a doctor? Are you a dentist? Do you have a company? Are you a coach of some kind? They should understand who you are, what you stand for, and what you're up to, and how you can help them. She also mentioned, because of her generous spirit, everyone here, we will provide the link to you. She literally just promised a free book copy for our entire audience. This is phenomenal, and I am extremely grateful to her for that. I have read the book. I have the bracelet. I have given them out to some of my agents, and it's absolutely instructive. You've got to understand your brain is not static. It can learn. It can learn how to be you at a level that is different than we've ever really understood before. So it doesn't just learn book knowledge and fun facts on TV shows. Your brain can actually learn how to be more optimistic, how to be more positive, how to give you more energy when you need it, how to give you more confidence when you need it. So all of these things are learnable. So that's it. Visit our website to find our episode guide and worksheet that will help you use these tips to take action in your own life. Like and subscribe and join us everywhere podcasts are streamed. We can't wait to bring you more incredible content every week so that you can rise in your own lives and careers. Again, thank you so much. Heather Mansy, signing off.